There's a fire that burns bright, but only for a moment. You felt it. That sudden surge of energy, that spark that lights up your chest, convincing you that today, yes, today, you'll change everything. You'll start the workout routine, begin writing the book, cut the distractions, reclaim your time, and for a moment, it feels real, like you've just glimpsed the person you were always meant to be. But then, life resumes. The morning fog of stress returns. The emails pile up. The energy wanes. The spark dims, then flickers, and soon, just like that, it's gone. This is the nature of motivation. It is brilliant, but brief. Beautiful, but unreliable. Motivation shows up like a visitor, unexpected, exciting, but never one to stay long. And so we build our hopes around it. We treat it like fuel, not realizing that this kind of fuel burns out far too fast for the journey we're trying to take. And that's where many of us get stuck. We wait. We wait to feel like it. We wait for another wave of inspiration, another YouTube video, another Monday morning, another New Year's resolution to sweep us back into action. But what if the secret isn't in chasing that next wave? What if the answer lies not in the highs, but in the slow, steady rhythm beneath it all? Let's sit with this together, not to summon more motivation, not to guilt ourselves into effort, but to understand something quieter, something sturdier. There is a deeper current here, one that doesn't flare and fade, but flows, and carries us forward if we learn to trust it. That current is discipline. Now, I know, the word discipline can feel cold, rigid, like a strict teacher with a red pen. But stay with me. That's not what we're talking about here. This isn't about punishing yourself into productivity or turning your life into a spreadsheet of routines. No, the kind of discipline we're going to explore together, through story, through reflection, through gentle guidance, is something far more human. It's the discipline that feels like a quiet promise to yourself. It's the kind that shows up not because you feel like it, but because you decided it matters. It's the rhythm you return to after the motivation fades. And in that rhythm, there is peace. Because you see, discipline isn't about force, it's about freedom. Freedom from depending on moods to shape your day. Freedom from the guilt of inconsistency. Freedom from the emotional roller coaster of always needing to be inspired just to move forward. It's about showing up, steadily, like the rising sun. Not dramatic, not perfect, just present. And it's this steady presence that changes things. Not overnight, not in viral breakthroughs, but in quiet, daily decisions that stack up over time like stones on a path. And one day, you look back, and you realize you've become someone dependable, not just to others, but to yourself. That's the kind of life we're going to talk about here. Not the life fueled by fireworks, but the one built on lanterns, small lights, carried daily, lit again and again. So breathe for a moment. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not lacking discipline. You just haven't been taught how gentle it can be, how human, how possible. Over the next hour or so, I invite you to walk with me, not in a rush, not in a race, but in reflection. We'll explore the difference between motivation and discipline, not from a place of theory, but from the lived experience of what it means to struggle with consistency, to stumble and restart, to build habits that heal rather than hurt. You won't find hype here. You won't find slogans or tricks. What you'll find is a deeper understanding of how your life can shift, not through willpower alone, but through rhythm, through care, through practice. So wherever you are, driving, resting, cleaning, walking, let this be your pause, a soft beginning, a quiet commitment to explore a better way forward. Because the life you want, it doesn't need louder motivation. It needs steadier love. And love in action looks a lot like discipline. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Motivation. Let's talk about a feeling we all love. That electric charge. That high-energy moment when your heart beats faster just thinking about a new idea, a new project, a new version of yourself that you can almost taste. That is motivation. It feels like lightning in a bottle, doesn't it? Like something has finally clicked. You're awake, focused, ready to change everything. But here's the thing. Motivation, despite all its intensity, isn't built to last. It's emotional fuel, not structural support. It can lift you off the ground, yes, but it can't keep you in the air. Imagine this. You see a video online, a fitness journey, an entrepreneur's success story, or someone waking up at 5 a.m. with glowing skin and a green smoothie. You think, that's it. Tomorrow, I'm turning it around. You buy the journal, clean out the fridge, set 10 alarms, and the next day, you do wake up early. You stretch, you write, you smile, and then, by day 3, you're exhausted. You hit snooze, you feel guilty, and slowly, that promise to yourself begins to fade into the background noise of all the other promises that came before it. Sound familiar? It's a cycle that traps so many of us. We confuse motivation for momentum, but the truth is, motivation is a mood, and moods are weather. They change. Now let me tell you a story. There's a man, let's call him Armin. Armin is full of ideas. His phone is full of notes, a podcast idea, a YouTube channel, a book, a fitness challenge, a new business. Every other week, he feels a wave of energy. He watches something inspiring or has a deep late-night conversation with a friend, and suddenly, he's back in the game. He starts things passionately. He designs logos, builds Notion pages, buys domain names. He announces his journey, sometimes even tells his friends, this time it's different. But after a few days, that initial energy fades, the excitement wears off, and Armin, once again, finds himself scrolling through old files, wondering why none of his projects ever stick. He tells himself he just needs to find the right idea, the one he'll feel so passionate about that he won't quit. But that's the illusion. Motivation gave him the ignition, but not the engine. And without an engine, no vehicle goes far. Here's what's happening under the surface. When we feel motivated, what we're really experiencing is a dopamine surge, a neurological reward triggered by anticipation. It's your brain saying, this feels new, this feels exciting, let's chase it. But dopamine isn't interested in consistency. It's not tied to long-term fulfillment. It's tied to novelty, to the rush of beginnings. So the more we rely on motivation, the more we chase that high, the more we train ourselves to crave the start, not the sustain. That's why so many people are addicted to starting over. New planners, new goals, new systems. It feels productive, but often it's just procrastination wearing a shiny outfit, because deep down, we're trying to feel ready before we begin. We're waiting to want it badly enough, but waiting for motivation is like waiting for the wind to always blow your way. And what do we do on the days the wind doesn't show up? Let me share a quote with you. Motivation is the spark. Discipline is the wood that keeps the fire alive. Think about that for a moment. Motivation can light the flame, yes, but without structure, without something solid beneath it, the flame fizzles out. Discipline is what gathers the wood each day, bit by bit. It doesn't care if it's raining or if you're tired. It just shows up with quiet, unglamorous consistency. It builds the fire, even when it's not burning bright. And over time, that consistency creates warmth. Not flashy, not loud, but dependable. You see, the real question isn't, how do I stay motivated? The better question is, what will I do when I'm not? Because that's where life happens. not in the surges, but in the space between them. Discipline steps in when motivation steps out. It's not about being robotic or harsh. It's about making decisions in alignment with your deeper values, regardless of temporary feelings. And ironically, when you live this way, when you stop chasing the spark and start stacking the wood, something beautiful happens. Motivation does return. But now, it's a visitor, not the landlord. It shows up to complement your effort, not to control it. So how do we shift? How do we stop clinging to this illusion that we always need to feel inspired? We start by recognizing that emotions are feedback, not instructions. Feeling unmotivated doesn't mean something's wrong. It means your brain is tired, or afraid, or distracted. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't act. Discipline whispers, we do it anyway. We also build rhythm, not overwhelming perfectionist routines, but small, sustainable acts. Writing for 10 minutes, walking for 15. Not because you're pumped, but because you've decided that this is who you are now. Over time, these acts become part of your identity, and identity is stronger than inspiration. So next time you feel that spark, honor it, smile at it, let it lift you. But don't build your future on it. Build it on the quiet rituals, the ordinary actions, the decision to return again and again. Because that is where real transformation lives. Not in the hype, but in the hum. Not in the lightning, but in the lantern. Chapter 2. Discipline as a gentle framework. When you hear the word discipline, what comes to mind? For many, it's a hard-edged word. Cold, rigid, punishing. It might remind you of childhood rules, strict routines, someone standing over your shoulder, waiting for you to slip. But what if I told you that discipline, true discipline, isn't about punishment at all? What if instead, it's about peace? Let's take a breath together. Set aside the old meanings, the ones rooted in fear, guilt, or shame. Because discipline at its heart is not about controlling yourself. It's about caring for yourself. It's about creating a life with structure, so your spirit has room to breathe. Imagine a river, wild flowing water rushing across the earth. Without banks to guide it, the water spills everywhere, flooding, dispersing, losing direction. But with a riverbank, sturdy yet curved, open yet contained, that same water becomes powerful. It moves with purpose. It carves valleys. It sustains life. Discipline is your riverbank. Not something to restrain you, but something to shape your energy, give you direction, and keep you from losing yourself in every distraction. You're not here to cage your freedom. You're here to channel it. Too often we resist routine because we believe it limits us. We chase spontaneity, waiting for moments of inspiration to guide our days. But the truth is, the most creative, grounded, fulfilled people don't wait to feel ready. They build rhythms. They show up when it's boring. They show up when it's hard. They know that freedom without structure quickly becomes chaos. You might think, but I want to feel alive, not boxed in. And I hear you. But here's the paradox. Structure isn't the enemy of life. It's the soil it grows from. Without discipline, our intentions wither under the weight of the world's noise. But with it, even our smallest efforts begin to bloom. Let me tell you about someone. Her name is Elena. Elena used to call herself all over the place. She'd have amazing days of productivity followed by entire weeks of burnout. She had dreams, deep, honest ones, but they always felt just out of reach. One day, during a quiet walk, she asked herself, what if I stopped trying to change everything at once? What if I just did one thing every day, no matter what? She chose journaling. Just 10 minutes. No rules, no pressure. She did it whether she was tired, sad, inspired, or anxious. 10 minutes. That was her anchor. Something shifted. It wasn't the journaling itself. It was what it represented. A small promise, kept. A moment of stillness, honored. And over time, Elena didn't just feel more consistent, she felt more whole. That's the essence of discipline. It's not about perfect routines or military habits. It's about aligning your outer actions with your inner values. It's about becoming someone you can trust, even on your worst days. You see, we talk so much about trusting others. But there is a quiet, sacred power in learning to trust yourself. And trust isn't built through grand declarations. It's built through small, repeated acts. Making your bed, drinking water first thing in the morning, writing one paragraph, stretching your body for 5 minutes. These acts may seem tiny, but they are signals. Signals that say, I matter, my word matters, my energy matters. Let's talk practically. If you're someone who struggles with consistency, if you've tried to overhaul your life 100 times only to burn out again, try this. Choose one non-negotiable anchor per day. Just one. Something simple, repeatable, gentle. Maybe it's a 5-minute meditation before coffee. Maybe it's turning your phone off at 9 p.m. Maybe it's writing 3 lines in a notebook. Maybe it's a short walk after dinner. The key is not intensity. The key is honoring the commitment, especially when you don't feel like it. This anchor isn't about productivity. It's about identity. It's about becoming someone who follows through. And that identity builds real momentum. There's a beautiful quote I once heard. Discipline is remembering what you want. Not what you want in the moment, but what you want most deeply. The kind of life that brings you peace. The kind of person you feel proud to be. Discipline connects you to that version of yourself. Not through willpower, but through rhythm. Because rhythm is softer than force. Rhythm respects your energy, your cycles, your humanity, but it also says, we're still going to show up, gently, kindly, but without fail. You don't have to become a new person overnight. You don't have to wake up at 5 a.m., drink kale, and write a novel by noon. You just need to choose one small act that pulls you back to center. Let that act become a daily ritual. Let that ritual become a doorway back to yourself, and then build from there, slowly, patiently, like water carving stone. So if discipline has ever felt harsh to you, if the word has ever made you shrink, I invite you to rewrite the story. See discipline not as a whip, but as a warm hand on your back, guiding you forward. Not as a drill sergeant, but as an inner mentor, helping you build the life you quietly long for. Because at its core, discipline is love in action. The love of your future self, the love of your purpose, the love of your own becoming. Chapter 3. The Architecture of Consistency. How to build systems that stick. Let's begin this one with a simple truth. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. We dream big, and rightly so, but dreams by themselves are ethereal. They float like clouds, beautiful, poetic, and entirely untouchable without a ladder beneath them. That ladder, brick by brick, is your system. It's the set of invisible choices you make each day, the routines that either move you forward or quietly pull you back. It's not just what you want, it's how you show up for it. So let's explore how to build that quiet architecture, not as a rigid fortress, but as a living home, something that holds you, not traps you, something that supports your days, even when motivation fades. Start where you actually are, not where you wish you were too often. We design systems from a place of fantasy. We imagine our best, most energized, focused selves and build a life around them. But consistency doesn't come from ideal conditions. It comes from designing for reality. Let me give you a picture. There's a man named Daniel. He wants to write a book. He's inspired, full of motivation. So he draws up a schedule, 2,000 words every morning, no exceptions. It works for 2 days. Then the meetings pile up. He's tired. His kid gets sick. Life, as it does, shows up. By the end of the week, Daniel is behind, frustrated, and worse, he now believes he lacks discipline. But the truth is, his system was never sustainable. It wasn't built around his real life. It was built around an illusion. And here's the shift. Instead of designing systems for your ideal self, design for your tired self, your distracted self, your overwhelmed self. Because if your system can hold that version of you, then it's a system that will last. Tiny wins stack faster than big starts. We've been conditioned to believe change has to be dramatic to be meaningful, that if we're not overhauling everything, it doesn't count. But what if I told you that the smallest repeatable action is more powerful than the biggest unsustainable one? A 5-minute stretch every morning, a single glass of water before coffee, opening your laptop and writing just one sentence. These are not minor, these are keystones. Think of them like planting seeds. Each seed may look insignificant on its own, but day after day, watered with attention and care, it grows roots. And roots create stability. We don't need more grand gestures. We need micro habits we can actually live with, because micro habits become macro change. Build triggers, not willpower. Let's be honest. Willpower is unreliable. It's a fading battery, strong in the morning, drained by dinner. But triggers? Triggers are automatic. If you want to stay consistent, attach the behavior you want to a behavior you already do. This is called habit stacking. After I brush my teeth, I journal one line. After I brew my coffee, I meditate for 1 minute. After I shut down work, I go for a 5-minute walk. This removes decision-making, and the less you have to choose your habit, the more likely you are to do your habit. Make failure harder than success. Let's revisit discipline, but with a twist. What if you didn't need more discipline, but simply less friction? Here's what I mean. Let's say you want to read more books. You could try to force yourself to read for an hour at night, or you could leave your book on your pillow. Put your phone in the drawer. Dim the lights. Let the environment nudge you. That's a system. Or let's say you want to work out in the morning. You could yell at yourself for hitting snooze. Or you could set out your clothes the night before. Put your alarm across the room. Play energizing music right as you wake. This isn't about pressure. This is about designing for success, by making the desired action the path of least resistance. Discipline often looks like strategy. Track progress visually, not for perfection, but for presence. Here's a quiet tool that works wonders. Track your habits visually. It can be as simple as checking a box, drawing a dot, crossing a day off a calendar. The goal is not guilt, it's awareness. Because when you see your progress, you feel momentum. And when you miss a day, you know. This is a moment, not a collapse. You shift from judgment to data. You become a quiet observer of your life. And that space, that perspective, that's where transformation truly begins. Create a fallback plan. Grace over guilt. Even the best systems fail. You will miss days. You will get sick. You will forget. You will fall short. It's okay. What matters is not if you fall, it's how you return. Create a fallback plan for your habits. A minimum dose version. If you can't write for 30 minutes, write for 3. If you can't run a mile, walk around the block. If you can't meditate, just take 3 deep breaths. Consistency isn't about never slipping. It's about always returning, without self-punishment. Because when you return gently, you begin to trust yourself again. Your system should reflect your values, not just your goals. This may be the most overlooked truth of all. Your system should not just be efficient. They should be meaningful. If you value presence, but your system leaves you rushed, something's off. If you value peace, but your routine makes you anxious, pause and realign. If you value growth, but you're always overwhelmed, it's time to reassess. Systems are not just tools, They are mirrors. They show us what we're prioritizing, intentionally or accidentally. And when you design your life around your values, consistency becomes less of a struggle and more of a coming home. So, what system will you start building? Not a perfect one, not a flashy one, but a gentle, quiet one that fits you. Let it be rooted in self-respect. Let it be flexible. Let it be real. Because this isn't about discipline as punishment. It's discipline as compassion. Discipline as design. Discipline as care. Chapter 4. Emotional Resistance and the Discipline Muscle. There's a voice we all know. Not loud, not shouting, but persistent. Subtle. Familiar like the creak of an old staircase. It speaks in quiet moments, when the room is still and the world has gone to sleep. You know the one. It whispers, "You're falling behind. You don't have what it takes. You always quit. Why should this time be different?" It's not dramatic, not theatrical. It's worse. It sounds reasonable. But this voice, it isn't you. Not really. It's a collection of echoes, old fears, past disappointments, maybe even the words of others that burrowed deep and made a home inside your mind. And over time, if left unchecked, it becomes the lens through which you see your efforts, your dreams, your discipline. So let's sit with this voice for a moment, not to silence it through force, but to understand it gently. Because the real secret? The antidote to that voice isn't motivation. It's not pushing harder. It's not pretending you don't hear it. The answer is compassion. Yes, compassion. Not the kind you extend to others, the kind that feels harder, the kind you offer to yourself. Let's begin here. Imagine for a moment that a friend came to you, heart open, unsure, vulnerable. They say, "I'm trying, I really am, but I keep messing up. I don't think I'm built for this." Now ask yourself, how would you respond? Would you say, "You're right, you're weak, you always give up"? No, you'd soften, you'd lean in, you'd remind them that effort matters, that growth isn't linear, that one step forward, even after 2 steps back, is still a kind of progress. But when it comes to ourselves, we rarely offer that grace. We expect perfection or nothing. And discipline, when filtered through that harsh lens, becomes a weapon, a whip rather than a hand to hold. So today, we reframe. Discipline is not about being hard on yourself. It's about being for yourself. Because real consistency, the kind that sustains over time, grows from a place of safety, not shame. If every missed habit becomes a moral failure, if every late start becomes a character flaw, you will burn out. Not because you lack discipline, but because your inner environment has become too hostile to return to. Let me tell you a story. There's a young woman named Leah. She's been trying to build a habit of morning walks. Not to lose weight, not for any external reason, but to feel grounded before work. For 3 days, she does it. The air is cool. The silence is kind. She feels connected. Then one day she wakes up late. She skips the walk. Then again the next day. The old voice creeps in. "See? You always drop the ball. Why even try?" Now, Leah has 2 paths. She can believe the voice. Make this a story of failure. Internalize it. Let shame cement the spiral. Or she can choose compassion. She can say, "Yes, I missed it. That's okay. I'm still the kind of person who walks in the morning. I'm just a little out of rhythm. Let's try again." That shift, so subtle, so gentle, is the difference between quitting and continuing, between self-sabotage and self-trust. You see, discipline is not the opposite of softness. True discipline requires softness, because when you create an inner world that's safe to return to, you always come back. even after the hardest days, even when the storm rolls in, even when you fall out of sync. And isn't that the real definition of consistency? Not never missing, but always returning. Now, of course, there will still be friction. The voice won't vanish overnight. But the more you meet it with kindness, not indulgence but understanding, the quieter it becomes. Here's something to try the next time it shows up. Instead of arguing with it, get curious. Ask, where is this voice really coming from? Is it fear? Shame? Maybe the echo of a parent, a teacher, an old wound? Name it. Not to give it power, but to separate it from your identity. You are not the voice. You are the listener, the observer, the one who chooses the response. And in that space between voice and reaction is freedom. Maybe that's what discipline truly is. Not just the act of doing hard things, but the choice to keep showing up with gentleness, even when you feel undeserving. Let that sink in for a moment. What if discipline didn't have to feel like self-punishment? What if it could feel like coming home to yourself again and again? There's a kind of power in that. Not loud, not flashy, but deep, rooted, unshakable. You no longer chase perfection. You protect your peace. You no longer fear failure. You trust your recovery. You no longer need to prove. You begin to believe. And belief, not in outcomes, but in yourself, is what ultimately silences the inner saboteur. So the next time that voice rises, take a breath. Speak back, not with force, but with presence. I hear you, but I no longer believe you. I'm still going, one small step at a time. Because the truth is, there's no perfect path, only a series of returns to your values, to your rituals, to your heart. Let each return be quiet proof you are not broken. You are becoming, and that's more than enough. Chapter 5. Showing up when you don't feel like it. Discipline in the real world. There will be days when your bed feels like the safest place in the world, and the weight of simply being alive presses heavily against your chest. Days when the to-do list seems like a mountain, and your spirit whispers, not today. On those days, the glow of motivation is nowhere to be found. The fire has dimmed. And the world? It's still asking things of you. These are the days when discipline quietly steps forward, not in grand gestures, but in small, almost invisible ways. It's the quiet decision to stand up, to brush your teeth, to answer that one email, to walk instead of scroll, to show up, not for applause, not for a breakthrough, but because you said you would, because you made a promise to yourself. This is the moment where discipline is forged. See, anyone can move when they're inspired, when the sun is shining and the playlist is just right and the coffee hits perfectly. Anyone can start when they feel ready. But consistency isn't born there. It's born in the gray, the fog, the messy, unfiltered spaces between the highlight reels. Real discipline is what happens when no one's watching and nothing feels urgent, except the quiet commitment you made to your future self. Let me tell you a story. There's a man named David, works a regular job, nothing flashy. He's been trying to write a novel for 10 years. He always starts when he's excited. New idea, fresh energy, blank page. But 3 days in, he skips a session, then 2. Then the voice returns. You've lost it. Maybe you're just not a writer. So he stops. Again. But 1 year, something shifts. David decides to try differently. He sets a goal. Not to finish a novel, not even to write every day. Just to sit at his desk for 15 minutes, every morning, no matter what. No expectations, no pressure, just presence. The first few days feel easy. The energy is there. By day 7, it's gone. He wakes up groggy, uninspired. Nothing wants to come out. But he sits anyway. 15 minutes. A few awkward sentences. That's it. And the next day, he sits again. Maybe one sentence, maybe a page, maybe nothing at all. But here's what happened. He kept the promise. He didn't perform. He didn't impress. But he showed up. And over time, that became his superpower. Not talent, not bursts of brilliance, just presence. Quiet, humble, gritty presence. 6 months later, he finished the first draft. Not because he was inspired, but because he was dependable. There's a lesson in this. We often think discipline is about doing big things. Waking up at 4 a.m., running marathons, building empires. But more often, it's about doing small things, especially when we don't feel like it. The truth is, your feelings are real, but they're not always reliable. They change with sleep, hormones, the weather, a stray comment from a stranger. And yet we wait for them like they're some kind of permission slip to begin. But here's the shift. What if you could act without waiting to feel ready? Not forcefully, not aggressively, but gently, steadily, like lighting a candle in the dark. Not because the room is warm, but because the light is needed. That's the heart of discipline in the real world. It's not romantic. It's not cinematic. It's not something you post about. It's the meal you cook when you're tired. The workout you show up to when your body says no, but your mind knows it will help. It's saying no to another hour of scrolling and yes to just 10 minutes of quiet, 10 minutes of alignment. And sometimes showing up means adjusting, not abandoning. Maybe the workout becomes a walk. Maybe the writing becomes journaling. Maybe the deep cleaning becomes 5 dishes. But you still show up. Because the secret is this. Consistency doesn't mean doing the same thing every day. It means being someone who keeps returning. Not perfectly, but regularly, with grace. Think about nature. The sun doesn't shine the same way every day. Some days it's hidden behind clouds. Some days it blazes in full glory, but it rises. That's the rhythm. That's the commitment. What if you could be like that? Not rigid, but reliable. Not harsh, but honest. Because showing up isn't about achievement. It's about identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who honors what matters, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And that rewires you, slowly, quietly, deeply. You stop being dependent on motivation. You stop needing the perfect mood, the ideal setting. You start creating motion out of stillness. And that motion, it changes everything. Let me offer you something simple, a question you can ask, especially on the hard days. What is the smallest possible version of this that I can still do? Not what's ideal, not what's impressive, but what's possible right now. Then do that, and count it. Let it matter, because it does. You're not building discipline to become some ultra-optimized machine. You're doing it to trust yourself, to move through life with integrity, to know deep down that when things get hard, you can rely on you. And that's rare. That's sacred. So the next time you don't feel like it, don't shame yourself. Don't wait for motivation to rescue you. Just return, gently, humbly, quietly, and show up in the way you're able. Because each time you do, you're not just checking a box. You're laying a brick, a small, solid piece of the life you're building. And someday, when others ask how you did it, the truth won't be some big secret. It'll be something like this. I didn't wait to feel ready. I just kept showing up. And that's more powerful than anything fleeting. That's discipline. And that's yours now. Chapter 6. Building identity through repetition. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you believe you are. The quiet moments, those small, seemingly insignificant choices, are the brushstrokes painting the larger canvas of your identity. You may not notice the shift at first, but with each repetition, the picture becomes clearer. There's something deeply grounding about this idea. It means you don't have to wake up and transform overnight. You don't have to declare to the world who you are. You simply begin by doing, gently, repeatedly. Imagine identity like a well-worn path in a forest. The first time you walk it, it's uncertain. Grass tall, branches blocking the way. But if you return the next day, and the next, the path becomes clearer. You start to trust it. You begin to feel at home in it, not because the forest changed, but because you did. Repetition is the act of visiting that path again and again, until it becomes familiar, until it becomes you. And discipline is how you keep coming back. It's easy to think of change as something external, a new habit, a new job, a new relationship. But real change, lasting change, moves from the inside out. It's not just about doing different things. It's about becoming someone new. And that becoming is built on what you do consistently. You don't become a writer by publishing a book. You become a writer by writing regularly, especially when no one's watching. You don't become a healthy person by going on a diet. You become one by honoring your body again and again in small ways. You don't become kind by being nice once. You become kind by choosing empathy, even when it's inconvenient. Identity is not a title you claim. It's a rhythm you build. Let me give you a small story. There's a young woman named Sophia. For most of her life, she believed she wasn't athletic. Gym class was a nightmare. Running felt like punishment. But one day, on a walk after a long day, she jogged to the next lamppost, just to shake off the tension. The next day she jogged too, not because she believed she was a runner, but because it felt good. She didn't buy new shoes. She didn't download a training plan. She just kept going, lamppost by lamppost. 3 months in, someone asked her if she was a runner. She paused. She had never called herself that, but the question made her realize maybe she was. Not because she looked like one, not because she could run fast, but because she kept lacing up her shoes. That's identity through repetition. It's not about the label. It's about the proof, and the proof is found in the doing. Now, this process isn't glamorous. It's quiet. There are no loud announcements, no lightning strikes of clarity. It's a slow unfolding, a becoming. And at first, you won't believe it. You'll feel like an imposter. You'll want to wait until it feels real. But that's the trick. It doesn't feel real until you've done it enough times that it becomes hard to deny. That's why discipline matters so much, because it's how you stay long enough to see the shift. There will be days when you feel disconnected from your goal, days when you wonder if any of it is working. That's okay. That's normal. But instead of asking, is this worth it? Ask, what kind of person am I becoming by doing this? That question brings you back to what matters. Because when you show up for a habit repeatedly, it becomes something more than just action. It becomes a mirror. It reflects back to you a deeper truth. You are someone who keeps going. And that is no small thing. We live in a world obsessed with outcomes. We chase results. We want things to happen quickly. But identity work? It moves slowly. It's the work of gardeners, not gamblers. You plant seeds. You water them. You protect them from the cold. You trust the process, even when you can't see the growth. And one day, without fanfare, you realize something has shifted. You didn't just change your behavior. You changed your story. And that story becomes the foundation for everything that follows. There's peace in this, because it means your worth isn't tied to results. It's tied to how you show up, how you treat yourself, how you keep choosing again and again to become who you want to be. So if you feel stuck, if you're not sure where to begin, start small. Choose a habit that aligns with the identity you want to grow. Something tiny, something manageable. Then repeat it, not for praise, not for perfection, but for the pattern. Because every repetition is a declaration. This is who I am now. And even when it doesn't feel true yet, you keep going. Because eventually, it will. Eventually, the path will feel natural. The rhythm will feel like home. And you'll look back, not at one grand moment of change, but at 1,000 quiet ones. Moments where you chose to return. Moments where you honored the promise. Moments where you built a new identity, not by force, but by frequency. This is how we change. This is how we remember who we're capable of being, through repetition, through rhythm, through the gentle power of showing up again and again. Chapter 7. Designing a Life That Honors Discipline. There is a quiet truth often overlooked in the pursuit of discipline. It is not merely a matter of willpower or grit, but also a question of design. How we shape our environment, our daily spaces, routines, and relationships either supports the habits we want to cultivate or silently erodes them. Discipline, then, is not just something you summon from within on demand. It is a life you create around you, a gentle architecture that invites you to show up again and again. Imagine a river flowing freely, yet confined by riverbanks that give it shape and direction. Without those banks, the water would scatter in all directions, lost and unfocused. Our environment is much like those riverbanks. When designed thoughtfully, it channels our energy toward meaningful actions, preventing it from dispersing into distractions or indecision. Take a moment to consider your physical space. Is it cluttered with objects that pull your attention away or remind you of unfinished tasks? Or is it arranged in a way that welcomes calm and clarity? Simplifying your surroundings can have an outsized effect on your ability to maintain discipline. Clearing a desk, organizing a room, or even choosing the right lighting can subtly signal to your brain that this is a space for focused, intentional living. This principle extends beyond the physical. The digital landscape we inhabit often runs rampant with notifications, endless feeds, and competing demands for our attention. Each ping or pop-up competes with the quiet voice inside that reminds you of your commitment to yourself. Creating digital boundaries, setting specific times for email or social media, turning off non-essential notifications, or using apps that block distractions can act like gentle gates that preserve your mental energy. In this way, you are not fighting the digital tide with brute force, but steering around it with care and awareness. Accountability structures also form part of this life design. These can be as simple as telling a friend about your intentions, joining a group with similar goals, or using tools that track your progress. The human element, the knowing that someone else is aware of your commitment, adds a layer of gentle pressure that can keep you aligned even when your own motivation wavers. But the core of designing a life that honors discipline lies in shifting from relying on willpower alone to creating conditions that naturally support who you want to become. It's an invitation to be kind to yourself while being firm about your commitments. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to wrestle yourself into submission every day. Instead, you craft a life that nudges you toward your goals without exhausting your spirit. Think about the difference between dragging yourself uphill versus walking along a well-worn path. The path is easier to follow not because it lacks challenges, but because it is thoughtfully laid out. You don't have to fight against the terrain. You move with it. Designing your days with intention creates that path. Let me share a story. There was a woman named Emma who struggled with maintaining her morning routine. She often woke up feeling determined, but would quickly get distracted by her phone or the chaos of a cluttered kitchen. Rather than pushing herself harder, Emma began by redesigning her environment. She placed her phone in another room overnight, laid out her workout clothes the night before, and cleared her kitchen table of unrelated items. She also set a timer to limit her social media use to 15 minutes a day. These small changes acted like silent partners in her journey, reducing friction and making discipline easier to uphold. This design did not guarantee perfection, but it created a landscape where consistency was far more possible. Emma found that discipline felt less like an uphill battle and more like a natural rhythm. You might wonder, where do I start? The answer is simple yet profound. Start small. Choose one part of your environment that feels most in need of support. Maybe it's your workspace, your digital habits, or the way you organize your time. Begin there with gentle, manageable adjustments. Remember, this is not about rigid control. It's about creating freedom through structure. Freedom to focus, freedom to grow, freedom to be the person you've quietly wished to become. So as you move forward, consider the invisible architecture of your days. What are the riverbanks that guide your flow? How might you clear the clutter, set healthy boundaries, and build supportive connections? Don't rely on willpower alone. Instead, design your life to honor the discipline that already lives within you. And in doing so, you create a space where consistency is not a struggle, but a natural unfolding. You have rewarded yourself by listening to this, and now you know there's a quiet, almost sacred space where discipline and freedom meet, a place where the tension between control and ease dissolves. We often imagine discipline as a kind of chain, something that binds us, limits us, or demands sacrifice. But in truth, discipline is not the opposite of freedom. It is its foundation. Like the roots of a tree buried deep beneath the earth, unseen but essential, discipline holds us steady so we can grow tall, reach wide, and weather every storm. Take a moment now to picture a lighthouse. Not a grand, blazing beacon that roars through the night, but a lighthouse that keeps its steady rhythm, unwavering, reliable, gentle in its glow. Whether the sea is calm or the winds are fierce, the lighthouse returns again and again to its duty, its purpose. Its light is not a frantic flare, but a quiet assurance. It says, "Here I am. Here is safety. Here is your way." In many ways, your life is that lighthouse. The rhythm of discipline is the return you make to yourself. Through moments of clarity and fog, through bursts of energy and stretches of exhaustion, you come back. You show up. You light your own path. This return, this steady presence, is a profound act of love, not just for your goals, but for yourself. It honors the truth that growth is not a sprint, but a journey marked by patience and grace. It whispers softly that it's okay to stumble, to pause, to lose your way, because the journey always invites you back. You might carry memories of days when motivation burned bright and fast, only to flicker out, leaving you wondering if you're not enough. But those moments do not define you. What defines you is the courage to return, the willingness to begin again. This is the quiet strength you hold inside, the one that discipline unlocks and nourishes. I want to remind you that discipline is not about punishment or perfection. It is about alignment. It is about honoring your values and your dreams by showing up gently but persistently, day after day. Like the lighthouse, your light does not need to shine with blinding intensity. It needs only to shine with steady clarity. So as you step forward from here, carry this thought with you. The life you want will not ask for bursts of heroic effort, but for your gentle, steady return. It will not demand that you force yourself into shape overnight, but that you shape your days, your space, and your mind with kindness and intention. It will ask that you be patient with your progress and faithful in your presence. You are stronger than you realize. Your capacity to grow, to learn, to rebuild is boundless. When you falter, as we all do, remember that this too is part of the rhythm. The wave that pulls back is the wave that carries you forward. There is peace in becoming, peace in returning, peace in knowing that discipline is not a harsh master, but a wise companion guiding you gently home. Thank you for sharing this time and space with me. May you find in yourself the steady light that no storm can dim, the calm rhythm that no distraction can break. And may you always come back, softly, surely, and with grace.